Hello, this is Ron Gerber, CEO of Angelbeat. So excited to have Michael Kwon, the VP of Marketing at Clumio. Really fantastic company, riding the coattails of AWS to tremendous success in the backup recovery space. What I'd like to do is ask Michael to kick this off, just give a little bit of his background, help you understand some of the reasons why he, who had a very successful career with many other similar types of industry-leading companies in the networking cloud space, help us understand some of his decision-making, why he decided to join Clumio as part of their leadership team just a few years ago. And I think those comments will help structure some of our discussions, because all of you looking at their backup recovery solutions, your disaster recovery products, what makes the most sense in your environment, I'd encourage you to just give a fresh look to Clumio and some of the decisions that Michael went through in deciding to join Clumio are somewhat applicable to the decisions that all of you have to go through when you're looking at the best backup solution for your environment. Michael, let me turn it over to you, and thanks for your time.
First of all, Ron, thank you for that introduction, and thanks for having me on. Excited to chat with you and your audience. Going to the question, why did I join Clumio? Really, when you look at it, cloud was, kind of at an inflection point. We're starting to see really large enterprises adopt it. And there are some very clear, core IT areas that we're going to need to change, right? From an architecture perspective, right? You see the advent of microservices architectures, service-oriented architectures that are just completely a different way of coding, right? From waterfall to DevOps. And so, I started my cloud journey, if you will, at a monitoring company called SignalFX. We saw this sort of play out. Then I moved over to Redis, where, databases were changing, right? From more structured to, NoSQL type architectures, key value pairs, things of that nature. And now here at Clumio, backup and recovery is going to be a core part of the stack, right? When it comes to the cloud stack. I firmly believe that, and we're seeing that play out today. And that was really why I joined Clumio. I saw, massive opportunity, but also, more and more enterprises as they go and adopt these new architectures, they're going to need an answer in terms of what do they do from a regulatory compliance perspective? How do they deal with things like accidental deletions, which, become very problematic, particularly with all this automation and centralization of data in the cloud. And then, protecting themselves from bad actors, whether internal or external. So all those reasons are why I joined Clumio and why I think people should look at Clumio from a solution perspective.
And so as you described at this inflection point, the adoption of cloud continues to grow exponentially. That at least opens up or exposes some vulnerabilities if you simply assume that your largely on-prem oriented backup solution may not play that well in a very cloud-centric world. Maybe you could talk a little bit about your key partnership with AWS and describe some of the rationale why you can't simply rely upon AWS S3 storage as not only your primary storage, but also as your backup and disaster recovery solution.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, we're big fans of AWS, a great partner to us. We think S3 is an excellent product. When it comes to cloud and centralization, really, the thing that we tell prospects or customers to think about is that if your account gets compromised, right, your primary and your secondary data is sitting in the same account, right? So to take that to real life, it's kind of like when you rent a car, like everyone can relate to this. You get both of the keys on the same keychain. Well, that doesn't help you from a redundancy perspective. Sure. And so really, when you think about backup as it relates to bad actors, you really want to put that into outside of your domain access controls and put that in a different security sphere. And also think about things like immutability, as well as, that logical air gap that I'm talking about. Really important, especially if, God forbid, like your account gets compromised. Now you have a way to, segregate that data and create sort of this logical air gap. And that's really where Clumio comes into the picture to help customers out.
Good. Now, one of the things that you mentioned there are some of the ancillary, almost free value-added benefits or services that Clumio provides, in addition to state-of-the-art, bulletproof disaster recovery. We had talked previously about one of the dangers or one of the fines that another company who wasn't a Clumio customer, now they are, but they didn't use Clumio at the time, when they violated a healthcare privacy act. And one of the advantages of Clumio, even though it's not quote unquote a pure compliance or governance solution, it's all the resources that you put behind the scenes into the product to provide greater confidence to organization using the product, that not only do you not now have to worry about backup and disaster recovery if, God forbid, there's a ransomware attack or a hurricane or some other natural disaster, when you have to look at the growing complexity of data privacy laws, data governance, data protection, it's really hard to keep track of those things, especially with your backup. And maybe you could describe it a little more. If you've got Clumio, you don't have to worry about that to a very large extent, because your people are monitoring all these things to make sure you're covered and generating alerts automatically. I spoke a little bit longer than I preferred, but maybe you can provide a little more granular details.
Sure, Ron. When you think about, and I'll use some other examples, there's a lot of new regulations, right? Between, Dodd-Frank, which happened after the financial meltdown, COPA, which was something that Child Privacy Act, which was enacted relatively recently. These new regulations require more control and more, retention in terms of how long you keep certain types of data, right? And so, like when we talk to some of our banking customers, their EBS snapshots are now cost more to them per month than their actual production environment does, right? And so, absolutely, because regulations require that you keep, for instance, through the life of the partnership that you have with that customer, and then 5 years beyond that, right? And so a lot of banks are having to just hold on to data for extended periods of time, and so that's created this sort of issue around, well, how do I smartly deal with this, right? And I think this past year has all been about consolidation and cost optimization. And so I think people are waking up to the fact that, hey, there are better ways of dealing with these things, right? And that's really where Clumio comes in to help you out, figure out how to tier down data, give you something a little bit more cost effective, as well as air gapped, et cetera, to help you comply with these regulations.
So if you've got all kinds of different tiers of storage, there's primary, there's backup, there's archive, and many other iterations, you really can't rely upon just S3 to cover all of the above, and especially do it cost effectively. That's one of the voids in the marketplace as the world is going to the cloud, which led to the formation of Clumio, its great success, and your own personal decision to join Clumio a few years ago.
Yeah, look, Ron, I think the way to think about it is, in the cloud, you can accomplish anything, all right? We used to always say, like, with time and money, you can do anything you want.
That's right, yeah.
Right. But the reality is, you're not in the business of backup, right? You're probably in the business of banking. You're in the business of healthcare, keeping people healthy. You're in the business of feeding people, whatever your business may be. Sure. Our business is backup. And so, trust us to handle that for you and take that off your plate. And so, when you think about complexities around, okay, I've got 100 different RDS environments, and I've got to go and figure out, okay, I need dailies, I need weeklies, and I need monthlies, save that out for 7 years. Well, and then the ones that are yearlies, I want to tier that down to, Glacier. Like, how are you going to do that with 100 different environments and, maybe thousands of different accounts? So when you deal with that type of complexity, that's really when, we really add value. We've thought about these things. We've, been tested with hundreds of customers. And so we're able to solve those use cases for you in a way that you can feel confident about, that, the backups won't fail. You'll have, compliance records, right? You'll be able to prove it in an audit. And that data will be there for you to restore, right? So all those things we bring to the table.
I think there's three big things. Is you're going to the cloud, you need a cloud-centric backup solution. You need a backup solution that will seamlessly integrate with and meet your cyber insurance requirements, your cybersecurity requirements, all of those things, and also free you up from the complexity of understanding these rapidly changing regulatory landscape. We're talking at the beginning of 2024, so Clumio does that today. So maybe, Michael, why don't you share some of the things? So if someone's watching this video, without stealing your thunder as to what you might be launching in the future, what are some things that in the horizon for Clumio?
Yeah, and before I get there, I did want to point out,
Okay.
when it comes to dealing with things in the cloud, and you're dealing with this type of scale, if a vendor is asking you to port their software onto some EC2 hosts and store that yourself in S3, that's the wrong architecture, right? Fundamentally, we operate on a serverless architecture. We're using serverless functions on the back end. It's infinitely scalable, and so you have examples, for instance, where people are trying to back up a petabyte of data, and it's taken them over 100 days to go do that. With us, it's a matter of a few days, right? And so that parallelism, and also, like, there are complexities around dealing with how could that affect the primary application, right? You don't want your secondary to affect your primary. Well, that starts to happen at a particular type of scale. So it does require a different architecture. Now, going forward, and this platform that I'm talking about has enabled us to innovate in a lot of different areas. But really this year, what you can think about Clumio as focusing on, doubling down on databases. So we already have a solution for RDS. We have a solution for Aurora. We have a solution for Dynamo, right? We also have a solution for SQL Server running on EC2. And we're going to expand that this year. And you'll hear more about that. And finally, you're going to see us start to look at different public clouds.
Okay.
Our North Star metric is really, the company's North Star is to become the public cloud backup company. And so you're going to see us go into other public clouds this year.
Okay. Well, we'll have to get you back in about 6, 8 months when you're ready to go public. And again, the advantage are, if you're looking today, you've got AWS, you've got some hybrid architecture, you might be migrating applications from on-prem to the AWS cloud. You've got data in rest, data in use, data in motion, different kinds of data platforms. You've got data lakes, you've got data warehouses. Data is just freaking hard. It's complex, and it's the lifeblood of every organization. So when all of you are listening to this, I think it behooves all of you to make sure that your backup disaster recovery solution is very cloud-centric, very compliance aware, and absolutely fits in so you can configure it. So if there is either a nefarious disaster, i.e. ransomware, or a natural disaster, hurricane or something that forces you to use your backup, with 100% certainty that the Clumio solution will work. And so, that's one of the key things. You can go to clumio.com, you go to angelbeat.com. We'll be glad to put you in touch with Michael and his team. They can go through all the specifics of their product offering, then match it to your current infrastructure, the current types of applications, databases you're running, make sure it fits seamlessly, work out the right transition pathway where you can prototype it, do a proof of concept before completely rolling it out. And the advantage to all of you is, and I've seen this so often, even well before the days of the cloud, one of the things that IT people hate more than just about everything is being stuck for a weekend doing disaster recovery testing, where you've got to actually shut everything down. They want to make sure it works. By the way, no one ever did it. They said they did it. Maybe they do it for a day. They don't do it full time. And
Sure.
I would think, that the advantages now is spend your time and spend your organization's money on solutions that it's just bulletproof. It works. And then in turn, you could spend your time and energy on the more strategic decisions. Okay, what are the new applications we have to run? I want to move more of my real complex applications, maybe an Oracle database, maybe SAP. I want to move that to the cloud. How am I going to do that? It's another degree of complexity. And that's where even if you're running a lot of complex apps on-prem and your backup and disaster recovery seem to work fine, you really need to look at Clumio as an option as you're going to a cloud-centric world to ensure that everything happens without a hitch. Anything else you want to add, Michael?
Yeah, just to add to that, Ron, I mean, you want to skate to where the puck is going, right? And
That's a
with
great
this new
line. Can I steal
architecture,
that?
absolutely. And with this new architecture, you really want to rely on a backup vendor that understands this new architecture, right? Is running it themselves, and as a result can scale for your workload. So that's really critical when you reassess these things. And we really feel we're uniquely positioned to deal with that for customers. So.
Right. Well, I look forward to having Michael present more details about the Clumio solution at Angelbeat seminars. You can absolutely go to clumio.com to make sure I spell it out so you can see where it is. Angelbeat's a little easier. I'm sure there's a good story about what I'll ask you. Like, people ask me, well, how'd you come up with the name Angelbeat? It was pretty simple. We used to do work way back when for angel investors and helping them find innovative companies. And then I used to do articles for the New York Times. So technology was my beat. Angels sounded good. Some friend of mine literally said, why don't you just call yourself Angelbeat? I said, oh, it sounds good. People liked it. Nowadays, I get asked to do Devil Beat dark web seminars where I literally got an email from someone on the dark web and they said, look, we need a platform with someone who knows how to moderate and do these things. We want to teach all these cyber criminals how they can deploy ransomware as a service.
Oh my gosh.
Again, this is the way to, and this, the reason why Clumio is so important is that it's now so much easier for cyber criminals to do so much more damage without the skills because of all these tools. And that's why you need it. And yeah, how did they come up with the name Clumio? There's got to be a good answer for that.
Yeah, Ron. Actually, so how they came about it was our founders. They came from Pernix Data. They then went to Nutanix. And so they were thinking about the cloud and how things are changing, right? That's kind of the founding story.
Okay.
And Clumio, if you think about Clumio Nimbus, if you think about clouds, is sort of a play on that. And so that's really where the name
cloud and Nimbus as a type of cloud. So
right. And so Clumio was from the start built and born in the cloud.
Got it. Okay, well that's actually a good story, and it's carried through fruition to the successful company you're right now. I don't write anymore. I just run events. So Angelbeat's had a change, but we're glad to still be in the tech world and being able to promote innovative solutions like Clumio. Great stories. Please look at angelbeat.com, clumio.com for more information. We'll look forward to seeing all of you at an Angelbeat seminar where you can hear more in-depth insights from Michael. Thanks again, Michael.
Thanks, Ron. Take care.